So you clicked on this video because you're thinking about moving to Sugar Land, Texas, but you don't want to just listen to all the good things there are. You want to hear about all the bad things as well. Well, that's why today I'm going to talk about 5 reasons why you might want to avoid moving to Sugar Land, Texas. And we're getting after it right now. What's up, everybody? My name is Alex Watkins, and I'm a licensed real estate agent in Texas, and I specialize in relocation services. If this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything there is to know about Sugar Land, Texas, Katy, Texas, and the general Houston area, then subscribe and click the little bell so you don't miss any new videos about living in Houston, Texas. So the first thing that you need to know about Sugar Land that may deter you from moving over there is going to be the lack of public transportation. So yes, there's public transportation over in Sugar Land, but it's not very reliable, to say the least. So I would say that you're going to need a car if you're going to move down here, because it's going to be easier for you to get from place to place. And because the traffic is so bad here, because it takes forever to get anywhere, especially if you're working in Houston and you're living in Sugar Land, you're going to need a car for you to be able to get from place to place on time. So I guess it's not going to be a con for you if you don't mind waiting a long time for the bus to get there. And in Sugar Land, the buses will only take you to certain places. It's not like there's just thousands of stops all over the place for you to go to. There's only a few stops that you can go using the public transportation in Sugar Land. So I would say you definitely have to have a car. If you don't, just make sure you have lots and lots of extra time to spare. Okay, now getting into the second thing, this may be a pro for some, it may be a con for others. This is all personal, but I'm gonna say definitely something that you need to know about Sugar Land moving down here is that we are an open carry state here in Texas. Now, this is not so much a Sugar Land thing, but more of a Texas thing. But again, Sugar Land is in Texas, so you will have to deal with it at one point or another. So if seeing other people's guns makes you feel uncomfortable, then this may be something you may need to rethink for yourself. Now, I'm not saying that everyone's going to be walking around flashing their guns, and it's not like the country western movies where everyone's doing your draws, every couple of days or so. But I will say that on occasion, you might see somebody walk into, a store where they have a gun in their holster. Again, they're not pulling it out or anything, but they do have it there. Some people may walk around with it in their back pocket or tucked into their pants. So if you do see one, it's not necessarily a reason to freak out, but it is an open carry state and people do carry guns here. So if that's something that worries you, then maybe this might not be the best place for you. Now, on the other hand, if you're someone who, is great with that, is okay with it, if you're a gun owner yourself and that makes you feel safe and comfortable, then by all means, that's going to be a pro for you. But I figured it was a good thing to put in the cons because I wanted everyone to know that that is something that you will see down here in Sugar Land. Now, this next con is going to be something that's very important to everybody, it should seem, because money runs the world. Reason number 3 you might want to stay away from Sugar Land is going to be the cost of living. Now, again, if you're moving from Texas, from another place, like let's say California, we all got to pick on California. If you're moving from California, then yeah, obviously cost of living is not going to be any problem, compared to California. Sugar Land is going to be great. But if you compare it to some other cities around the general Houston area, like Katy or Missouri City or Houston itself, or even the Woodlands, the cost of living is higher in Sugar Land than it is in any of those places that I just named. Now, the closest I would have to say is going to be the Woodlands, but it's still higher. So just keep that in mind. So along with all the other things like the cost of groceries and the cost of rent and the cost of mortgages, the cost of, electric, everything's going to be higher in Sugar Land than it is in any one of those places, especially the home prices. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about moving down here, when you're planning everything out. The highest cost of living is most definitely going to be Sugar Land. Reason number 4. Now, this one definitely is going to be important because this might take some adjusting. So the next thing on our list is going to be the weather. Now, if you move down here to Sugar Land, you definitely need to make sure that you are comfortable with the heat. If you are somebody that likes to enjoy all the different seasons that there are to enjoy, then maybe Sugar Land might not be the best place for you. Only because here, I personally feel like we really only have like one season, and that's summer. It's going to be brutally hot, brutally humid almost all the time. It does get a little bit cold here, but I personally don't think that it gets cold enough for us to call it winter. It never really gets that cold. Normally, it's just going to be hot and humid. And even if it is going to be cold, what I like to call, Sugar Land is I like to call Sugar Land bipolar with the weather. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is in the winter, quote unquote, in the morning time, it'll be, let's say, 45 degrees outside. You wear your jacket, you wear your hat, your gloves, whatever you wear. Other states actually make fun of us because we wear all those things during 45-degree weather. But regardless, you'll wear those things early in the morning, going to work, and then on your way back to work, when you walk outside, it's going to be like 75, 80 degrees outside. And all that stuff that you wore to keep you warm is going to be weighing you down with sweat later on. So that's definitely something that you have to get used to with the weather changing, so on and so forth. One day it'll be rainy, the next day it'll be hot, the next day it'll be cold, and then the next week right after that, it'll go right back to hot all over again. So the weather changes very, very quickly here. It rarely ever just stays really, really cold. The most consistent weather that we get is going to be in the summer when it's going to be blazing hot outside. So yes, it's important that you do your research, but on the other hand, take it from somebody who's lived here for a long time. The weather is pretty rough when it comes to the heat. And again, that winter, if you're from somewhere else like, I don't know, Minnesota, where it gets really cold, you ain't really gonna have to worry about any of those problems down here. Okay, so reason number 5, this is again more of a Texas thing than it is a Sugar Land thing, but at the end of the day, you're gonna live here, so you're still gonna have to deal with it. So I'll tell you a little story. Remember, we are not used to the cold over here. It never really gets cold. It might get maybe 35 degrees at the very coldest. So back in 2021, we had a winter freeze. I don't know if you guys saw it on the news or not, but what happened was it got so cold over here. I believe it was 12 degrees. 12 degrees or 13 degrees, one of the two, is really, really cold for us. So it got about 13 degrees and our entire power grid shut out. There were so many people here that did not have power for days. I know my family in particular, we didn't have power for, I believe it was 4 days. So we basically just had to throw on our jackets, throw on our hats, put on extra pairs of socks, sleep in the same room so we were all, with each other's body heat. And all this to say that the reason why all this happened is because Texas is not built for that type of weather. We weren't built for that here. So when the weather got that bad, shut down the power grid, 200 people ended up dying because they didn't have electricity or they didn't have heat. And so it was just really, really bad, and we just were not prepared for it. So again, the coldest that we normally have is like 35 degrees, so we're not built for 13-degree weather. Down here, whenever there is ice on the roads, we cancel school, we cancel work, all that good stuff. Like no one puts chains on their tires or any of that crazy stuff. That's the way that we deal with it. But when that happened, the power grid shut down and we were not able to figure out how to keep everybody's power going because we just were not used to that. So if you move down here, just realize that might be something that could happen. Will it happen again? Probably not, but at the same time, we don't know if those things ever will happen again. Now, don't let these cons scare you away too bad because again, there are good things and there's bad things about everywhere that you're gonna move. So with that being said, if you are thinking about moving to Sugar Land, or if you've ever thought about moving to Katy, Texas, then you should check out this video next where I talk about Katy versus Sugar Land, Texas and compare the best aspects of both. So thank you so much guys for watching my video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Y'all be safe and I'll see you next time.